Hey, here's a quick video about loops. So what I've done here is I've just got a little document going, and inside this document we're going to have a prompt come up, and it's going to ask the user how many loops they would like to enter. So after they enter in the amount of loops, it's going to get stored inside this variable right over here. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, here's our very first for loop. For loops are a way for you to just repeat a task over and over again. So they honestly save yourself so much time. If you know how to use loops right, you're going to be able to get things done a lot quicker. One thing to think about is if you're ever coding something or you're trying to complete a certain task and you find yourself repeating this task multiple times over and over again, think about how you can incorporate a loop into it to basically take care of the repetition for you. So the syntax for it is just the word for, and then you have your two parentheses, just like you would have in an if statement, right? But instead of writing our condition, we're going to be passing three things to it. The first one is a variable to hold our increment numbers. So what I've done here is I've just gone var I equals 0. So now 0 is in I. And what we're going to do is we're going to use I to compare with the number of loops that the user has entered inside this prompt right over here. So we're going to say I less than user input. So it's going to be like, okay, I equals 0. Is I less than the user input? And if it is, it's going to be I plus plus, which means after this loop completes, this I is now going to be a 1. So after we've been able to set these three guys up over here, it's time to write your statement in between the brackets. So whatever is written inside here is what's going to be incremented. So if they put in 50 in the prompt, this thing right here is going to be written out 50 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just we'll pull up our browser, and we're just going to run this, and you'll be able to see what happens exactly. So I'm just going to hit enter, and it's going to say, okay, how many loops? And I'm going to put in 25. So before I hit in the enter, I'm just going to show you what's going to happen. So when I do hit enter, that number is going to be stored inside user input. It's going to reach the for loop. It's going to say, okay, var I equals 0. So now we've created an incrementer and set it to 0. It's going to say, okay, is the number entered less than I? Or is I, sorry, let me say that again. It's going to say, is I less than the number that the user has entered in the prompt? And if it is, it's going to increment it, all right? But what it's going to do when it hits in over here is it's going to do this little line of code right there on line 10. Now what I have here is I just have a string, and then I've concatenated I. So what's going to happen is the number is going to get shown, and it's going to get written. And what that number is whatever I is set to. So when you see the first time that we run it, it's going to say loop number 0 of user input, and then whatever's number's been put inside the user input. So I'm going to write 25. It's going to have 25. So it's going to say, okay, loop number 0 of 25, and then it's going to break the line, and then it's going to come through. It's going to check it out again. It's going to say, okay, is 1 less than user input? Okay, no, it's not less than 25. So we're going to increment it, and then it's going to be loop number 1. Right, because that's what's currently held inside this I variable of 50. So enough of that. I'm going to hit enter, and you'll be able to see. So as you can see, it says loop number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So as these numbers just grow, right, what it represents is the iteration of the current loop. So another thing I'm going to do here real quick is I'm just going to change this from a 0 to a 1. All right. So what you're going to see is, because we've initialized I as being 1, this isn't going to be 0 anymore, and this isn't going to be 24 anymore. It's going to say 1 right over here and then 25 right over there, because we started at 1, and it's going to keep on doing it until it's less than user input, right? So we're just going to run it again, and I'll put in 50, and as you can see, 1 of 50, 2 of 50, and so forth. So it just keeps on writing this line right here until that number until this condition like turns out to be false. So when I got to 50, right, it would say, okay, is 50 less than user input, which I entered 50. So because 50 is not less than 50, it's going to break and it's not going to loop anymore. But you can also go, if you wanted to, you can go less than equals user input. So it's going to say, okay, is I less than or equal to user input? And then it would allow you to go, right up to 50 for the last one, right? Right up over here. So as you can see, 50 of 50 now, right? And it still starts at 1. So that's how the loops work. In the next video, what we're going to do is just show you how you can use them to make your life so much easier when you need to generate a table. This is something you're going to want to get used to, because trust me, you'll be doing a lot of these loop table things. All right, so see you in the next video.